are they ready to move? Do they have the right shock absorbers to move into our terrain? Political terrain, social terrain, this terrain of uncertainties of all kinds. Do they have the right vehicle to move? Can they make sacrifices? These are questions I have. Yeah, we have to be realistic. I'm not going to go into lectures. Our brother has done justice to numerous issues you have never even asked for. But the Nigeria we know, and the Nigeria that is inching to another direction, that is totally hopeless. Are you as young men ready to sacrifice? Are you ready to mobilize? Are you ready to look for funds, legally or illegally, for the common good of restoring the country? Are you ready to be bold to speak at home and abroad? Are you ready to inspire leaders outside Nigeria so that they can come to your rescue and synergize? Do you understand the differences of those who are out at the surface using diplomacy to be seen to be an ally of Nigeria and ready to help you build? But behind that layer are arsenals of destruction against your country that they utilize, particularly the means of trade and the means of diplomacy, or economic diplomacy, in destroying your country. Do you know that? He talked about history. I will just scratch on a tiny little issues for you to know that at a later date, there are many things you will segment and phase so that you can face them one after the other, for you to rise and for you to be seen to be above board. And then that will give you the visa to move across the country and the visa to establish your footprints for tomorrow's goals. Now, this country, right from the time oil was discovered, Nigeria was presented on a stage, dissected, looking at our mineral resources, dissected from what is called personality data profiling at that moment. And today, these countries that know very well that they are not as blessed as we are as a country, with natural resources, and as God will have it, with human resource capacity, to provide leadership at any part of the world with ease. We have it. But here, some of our leaders were not only prone to patronage against the country, they were now, or they were as they are now, some of them, partners in this destructive mission on Nigeria's life. If the younger ones do not know, that will be a painful thing. Now let me tell you, when Nigeria was dissected, which is a plan they do have, and today from the academia in Europe and in Americas, they don't hide. They come up to now look for better avenues of exploiting Africa or third world in general. Nigeria's case is exceptional because of what God has given to us. Most of our leaders who have allowed themselves as for patronage in this destructive mission are doing so in oil sector mainly and in leadership. There are some other things hidden by God Almighty that they do not know yet. And that is the point of happiness only that we have. But for young ones to get together, to prepare, to fight, to prepare to earn your own rights, you better draw the word realism, sleep over it, think about it, and plan whatever you have from the point of view of the word realism. Realism in leadership, realism in your scientific approach as to how you get results on every aspect of the goals you have so designed for yourselves. Realism from yourselves, realism to the generations you want to hand over the baton to. If the word realism is compromised at any point in time of movement, then better know that you have failed. But getting the people with the right mind, with the right soul, with the preparedness to provide direction and leadership to this country in this particular time, you will find it very difficult to get the like of him. Very difficult. And if you know you are ready to sacrifice to provide leadership and direction, be prepared for enemies who are bigger than you. And what do you do against enemies who are bigger than you? You also have to draw one word and look at it from a realistic point of view, dream about it, sleep over it, and work with it. What is that word? Unity. And unity of purpose. Where differences are kept aside, or differences that today are being used on the negative side are now molded, you attach positivism and draw strengths out of it. Unity of purpose can do the reverse of what today is all about, where leadership around the whole world can be given from this country. And in a nutshell, I will say to him, at any time you have a leadership in a country, even if they are 1,000 years old, for example, so long they don't use one word, the spirit that is to drive that leadership, that word, that is the driving factor, so that the led will see in the leadership that one word is called youthfulness. Of all the qualities of leadership that are many to mention, the word usefulness is the difference. If a leadership of the oldest old to any particular society or to any country that does not have a driving force called usefulness, then that leadership will be seen to be a retardation force against development, against progress, and the two vital factors that any leadership of any kind and any society, in any businesses, from household to United Nations, leadership to the world, is resting on two things. Restoration of hope of the people where their confidence is lost, or vice versa. Nothing more. Every other thing that is standing on this bipod. So if that is the case, then you need to reflect a little. And if this is the case, and you want to inch towards this brilliant, noble idea of rebuilding Nigeria, something we used to sit together for hours, fine-tuning yesterday, fine-tuning today, as we gaze into the future, then we should sit down and reflect a little. Don't invite anybody to your fold that is older than you quickly, because he has money. Don't invite anybody quickly into your fold because he is more knowledgeable than you. Look at the usefulness in him. Look at that patriotism in him. Look at that driving spirit of rebuilding Nigeria in the true sense of it. So if you are looking at personalities, take away all they have. Look at the character first. If that character and that attitude is similar to the driven mission, if he is the poorest poor, he is your own. If he is the richest rich, he is your own. But anything outside the first thing, and you don't look at the foundation, then never make the mistake of throwing anybody nearer, no matter how influential. Except, of course, if you want to utilize the third level of knowledge, of experience, in tapping from him two things. Molding him to be you, so that he can behave like you. Or you molding and behaving like him, to be able to earn what he has for you to move. If in the progress of that, for example, if you were to be a rich man and you want to tap from his resources, that's why I say funds at the beginning. Get funds legally or illegally. It is legalized, it is allowed. Making sense to draw money out of nothing, to be able to get lofty ideas, mature, and blossom into fruition for common man. It's a brilliant thing to do. That's why even when you go to war tomorrow, booties are allowed by all religions, by all laws. Modalities of utilizing it is another thing entirely, but it should be used for the common purpose of building or rebuilding, directing or treating the wounds of those who fought and enhancing the state. So with this in mind, I know you have a brilliant idea, but you need to reflect. The country right now is very fertile for the idea of a movement for rebuilding Nigeria. it is. So every other person will be rushing to come to you, good and bad. How you manage the bad while you still keep your course. How you also carry the good ones so that they will not be seen to be exploited or abused or accused or kicked aside as your vehicle moves. That's another art of leadership you must see within yourself, meaning you have to prepare. And there is nothing like realism in applying or in providing leadership to any given society. So with these little things I've said in my mind, because if I have to repeat whatever he said in form of a lecture, whether directly or indirectly, is still something I may be wasting our time. But all I want to tell you is one thing. If you are ready to move positively, there are forces up that will hold you. If you are ready to move, get the right friends, get the right brothers and sisters. If you are ready to move, be seen to speak out. If you are ready to move, take a look at your rights as enshrined by the professor or as reflected in his speech that talked about your rights, chapter 2 of the Constitution. Get to know it, cram it as he did. That is your weapon. Speak it in Nigeria, speak it outside Nigeria as the reason why you are moving the way you are moving, or you have conceived the idea of rebuilding Nigeria. The word rebuilding is a big word. Rebuilding means some people have failed. Rebuilding means you want to now take on their failures to now build towards a success of the damage done. So the word rebuild, in the ears and the eyes or in the face of those who destroyed Nigeria, whose investments are all over, they will not take it lightly. So my advice, as young ones who are patriotic, driven by this faith, and have a commitment to your country, is to learn to know who to use whenever you meet an obstacle. Movement is the only yardstick for measuring your success. But if you have to move in our terrain, then you should know who comes to you at what time. Sometimes you may need engineers to remove some obstacles. Sometimes you may require the poorest woman on earth, the poorest woman in Nigeria, to remove some certain thorns, because some of you may be barefooted, and having wounds may not allow you to move. Sometimes you require bricklayers to be able to add blocks and stones to move in the muddy waters. And sometimes to climb a mountain, you need mountain climbers to help you. Sometimes you are in the desert, and in the desert, you require some certain people with the art of desert warfare to keep you going. Little water discipline, sacrifices to keep going until you meet your goals. This is the terrain you have in Nigeria, not the literal meanings. Look at the other meaning deeper than what I have just said. So today, I must tell you, I am part of you. I accept to be part of you, and I'm sure what the Prof said lastly was that I am part of you, but you will not hear it from me. You will hear from someone. I am now speaking on his behalf. He is part of you. So with this, I'm sure your leadership will get to talk to us later on. Some of us are already on the bad books of those who destroyed this country. But time has come, we'll face them squarely. We are already doing our own in another phase entirely. So when you get ready and get prepared, we will sit down to synergize. To me, I'll give you a tiny little example. The weapon of propaganda, and then the weapon of destruction of countries that are blessed. What these countries do is to identify stooges in Nigeria, they did. And these stooges were paid, promises were given, promises of protection of their loots back with them, and then giving them the image rather than life, using their apparatus and that of their country. They were given money to invest in your local media, so they give them image. They act evil, but they are presented as the Moses of old times. And the world will see them as such, and the poor man may not be there, particularly those who are not so blessed with education to investigate and to know what was wrong. That's why in our local history in Nigeria, at least from the early 70s, I once told Prof, things I have seen things I have digged into documents to know, things I have spent years and years to investigate in understanding the true picture of what is already documented in our history. And you realize that our history is doctored, totally compromised, because those who did what they did yesterday, those who are always coming to sing holier than thou, the dirtiest of the dirtiest in the destruction of Nigeria, are seen to be the holiest and the best and the leaders. And this I want to salute every day as members of your elders group. So many politicians and so much of these games has been going on. So their friends at home, their friends in outside Nigeria have been working tirelessly against this country. And I think knowledge and synergy such as this one has come for us to now look inwards and put a halt to it. It is possible. So, when you begin to move, when you see stones being thrown at you, when you see abuses without any cause, then you are making progress. When you are being applauded properly at the wrong place, you come as an innocent baby, then suddenly you see the elders of the elders standing up and clapping for you. After you as a baby must have done something that must have destructed some plates in the kitchen. Then here you are in the parlor with the elders and they stood up to clap for you. As a baby, leave that environment. Go and think. You are totally wrong and you are in the wrong place. Yes. But where you clean your house and you do all you are supposed to do as a young lad in the house, then you come to an environment where guests are seated with your parents. If you come to that place and you realize that the guests are busy frowning at you, and some of them having half smiles at you, and then calling names or wanting to get you out of that place, go and thank God Almighty you are doing well. So, let me say to all of you, and have a look at the program today. Now for us to have been here today, I want you to do one thing. Sit back, think, and look for the fastest means of growing. Meaning, the fastest means of mobilizing yourself. If you begin and somebody holds you, careless about them, you're just a threat in their eyes, nothing more. So have that energy. From that, the more you are accused, the more you should see yourselves as a threat to those who have been destroying Nigeria. And finally, when they discovered Nigeria with the resources we have had, oil then in the 60s, the first thing first was how to take the oil against its usefulness to a typical Nigerian. How they can turn this oil that they have into destruction. And so it is. There is what is called international dirty oil politics. There is also what is called domestic dirty oil politics. In Nigeria, these two are working very hard, all against the citizenry. First of all, nobody, NNPC, the ministry, those who are issued with oil blocks, they are partners outside Nigeria that can give you an accurate figure of what is happening in the oil industry in Nigeria. Nobody. Types of bunkering, the ones in daytime, the ones at late hours, activities at late night, high ships in high seas, mother ships in high seas that Nigerians don't know, don't see. Everybody knows a fraction of the industry. And at the end of the day, we have been exploited. From then, when the oil was discovered to this moment, it is this same oil money that is used in buying our elders, or in buying our leaders. It is this same money that is being invested in propaganda, that is bringing the division between Muslims and Christians, mutual suspicion between a northerner and a southerner, mutual suspicion between the youth of the north and the youth of the south, and many of such vices. Or it is this same money that they are also using in affecting our curriculum. And I'm happy he talked about it. History, the relevance, importance, the strategic relevance of history in the life of a nation is bigger than anybody's imagination. And it is more dangerous to have the younger ones without knowing their backgrounds and without knowing what they stand for, that will imbibe naturally patriotism, the driven spirit of the love of their country, than compared to having the worst rattlesnakes thrown to a city. The youth must learn to think and reflect and ask questions. So let me tell you, there are more to learn as you move. Or there are more to learn, let me put it correctly, as we move henceforth. I wish you good luck, and I pray.